Meeting of the 34th Council of the City of Berkley. Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Blanchard.
Here.
Councilmember Kadekel.
Here.
Councilmember Platt-Onson.
Here.
Councilmember Stedman.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Here.
And Mayor O'Dwyer.
Here. Now, the first order of business is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Move to approve. Support.
Move to approve by Councilmember Kadekel with support from Councilmember Baker. Any changes, additions to be made? Hearing none, Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Blanchard.
Yes.
Kadekel.
Yes.
Platt-Onson.
Yes.
Stedman.
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now would you please stand for the invocation? Deacon Brian Carroll is with us.
O good and gracious God, we give you thanks for all the good gifts you give us. We thank you for this beautiful fall day. We thank you, in fact, for the city, for the season of fall. It's time of new beginnings in sports and academic life. We give you thanks for this community of Berkley and for those who govern it on our behalf. And so we ask your blessing upon this council meeting. May its discussion be civil and its decisions wise. And let us all say, Amen.
Now please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we come to the Citizens' Comments portion of tonight's meeting, when you may present your thoughts on issues that are not included on tonight's agenda. Council members will not engage you in discussion. If your concern needs to be addressed by a department of the city or a member of city staff, please sign your name on the sheet provided at the clerk's table. You may speak on a specific agenda item when it is being considered. When you come to the microphone, please state your name and city of residence. And seeing no great rush to the microphone, then we will move on to the consent agenda. Ms. Prince, would you please read the items on tonight's consent agenda?
Item number 1, approval of the minutes. Matter of approving the minutes of the regular City Council meeting on July 15, 2013, and special City Council meeting on August 19, 2013. Approval of the warrant. Matter of approving warrant number 1270. Item number 3, ordinance number 0613, matter of approving an ordinance of the Council of the City of Berkley, Michigan to rezone property described as lots 151 and 164 in the western 5 feet of lots 152 and 163 and half of the vacated Dorothea adjacent to the same of the Brookline Hills subdivision from community centerpiece to parking district. Second reading. Item number 4, motion number M4513, matter of receiving and filing the Berkley Public Library 2012 to 2013 annual report. Item number 5, proclamation number P1113, matter of approving a proclamation recognizing September 2013 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Berkley. Item number 6, resolution number R3413, matter of approving a resolution recognizing Renee Halloran for her years of service to the City of Berkley.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Blanchard with support by Councilmember Stedman. Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll on the consent agenda?
Kadekel?
Yes.
Kadekel. Platt-Onson.
Yes.
Stedman.
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Blanchard.
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 1 on tonight's regular agenda?
Recognitions and presentations. Matter of any recognitions or presentations from the consent agenda.
Thank you. I have asked Councilmember Platt-Onson to read P1113.
A proclamation recognizing September 2013 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Berkley, Michigan. Whereas 36 children in the United States will be diagnosed with cancer each day and at an average age of 6 years old, and whereas 1 out of 5 children diagnosed with cancer will not survive the disease, and whereas the types of cancers that affect children are most often very different from those that affect adults, and whereas childhood cancer is not just one disease, but is made up of a dozen types and countless subtypes of cancer, and whereas childhood cancer spares no socioeconomic, ethnic, racial, or geographic class, and whereas pediatric cancer is the leading cause of death by disease in U.S. children under 15 years of age, and whereas the causes of most pediatric cancers are largely unknown and not strongly linked to lifestyle, unlike adult cancers, and whereas 2/3 of childhood cancer patients will develop long-lasting chronic conditions resulting from treatment, and whereas the childhood cancer rates have been rising for the past few decades, and approximately 11,630 children in the U.S. under the age of 15 will be diagnosed with cancer in 2013, and whereas cancer kills more kids than AIDS, asthma, cystic fibrosis, diabetes, and muscular dystrophy combined, and whereas in the last 25 years, only 2 drugs have been specifically developed for children's cancer, and whereas less than 5% of the federal government's total funding for cancer research is dedicated to childhood cancers, and only about 3% of funds raised for the National Cancer Institute go directly to pediatric cancer research. And whereas the funding for pediatric cancer research has gone down steadily since 2003, and whereas despite the facts, childhood cancer research is vastly and consistently underfunded, and whereas despite major advances in treatment, it is still critically important to conduct research and increase awareness regarding pediatric cancer. Now therefore, the City of Berkeley hereby proclaims, Section 1, in order to help raise awareness of pediatric cancer and its victims, September 2013 is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Berkeley, Michigan. Proclaimed this 16th day of September 2013 at a regular meeting of the Berkeley City Council. Phil O'Dwyer, Mayor.
Thank you. And now I've asked Councilmember Stedman to read R 3413.
This is a resolution of the Council of the City of Berkeley, Michigan, recognizing Renee Halloran on the occasion of her retirement. Whereas on October 1st, 1984, then Renee Standen began her career with the City of Berkeley as a co-op student, working at the 45A District Court while still attending Berkeley High School. And whereas Renee was then hired full-time on August 25th, 1986, to be the building clerk in the Department of Community Development, Planning, and Research. At the time, this department had 6 full-time employees. And whereas the City of Berkeley has reaped the rewards of Renee's talents throughout her years in Berkeley, her willingness and abilities to suggest new policies, forms, and procedures to make development easier and better for the businesses and the citizens of Berkeley have made a difference in the community. And whereas in 1996, Renee married her high school sweetheart, Sean Halloran, and shortly thereafter, they purchased their first home in Berkeley, and in 2005, they welcomed daughter Emily. And whereas Renee's laughter, as well as her caustic wit, will be missed at City Hall, Renee's remarkable ability to remember an address, along with any past construction history, as well as the physical description of the occupant, was very useful and weird and wonderful. Renee's knowledge of Berkeley will be difficult to duplicate. Now, therefore, the City of Berkeley resolves, Section 1, that in the spirit of recognition of service to the City of Berkeley, the Council of the City of Berkeley hereby recognizes and honors Renee Halloran on the occasion of her much-deserved retirement, and City Council, on behalf of all residents and employees, expresses their sincere congratulations to Renee and her husband, Sean, as they find more time together with their daughter, Emily. Introduced and passed at a regular City Council meeting on Monday, September 16th, 2013, and signed by Phil O'Dwyer, Mayor.
Thank you. Very nice. And I notice in the audience tonight, our librarian, Celia, is here. I think one of her last meetings. If you'd like to make a little report, now would be an appropriate time.
Well, since I'm sure all of you have read this annual report word for word and committed it to memory, there's probably no need for me to say much of anything. I know quotations are Councilmember Baker's bailiwick, but I just will repeat the quotation that I started it with because I think it sums up what the library does in the 21st century. And it's a quote from Neil Gaiman. Google can bring you back 100,000 answers. A librarian can bring you back the right one. And that's what we're really here for. There's a whole new wilderness of the internet out there, and we know how to hone down the pages. And, I mean, you type anything into Google and you get back thousands of pages that you can't even possibly go through. And if you're not really careful, the first 5 things you see are actually ads. They're not even informational websites. As a librarian, we know that if you have just been diagnosed with a disease, maybe just typing that term into Google isn't the way to go about finding the information. You're going to get the snake oil salesman and things like that. We know to go to, say, PubMed, which is the National Library of Medicine's website, and instead of bringing back 100,000 websites, we bring you back 50 articles that actually have use and meaning in terms of what you need information for. So that's what we're here for now. We're here to help you, dear God, be it the Affordable Health Care Act and trying to sort out what your options are, the IRS and trying to figure out what forms you need, medical information. We're here to be the guides in the wilderness. It's maybe a little bit different than what we all went to library school to do. It's not books that we're using to find the information, but we're still helping you find the information. If you have any questions about the annual report, I'd be happy to answer it. This is my 31st.
Thank you. Any questions for
And
Celia?
final.
Councilmember Platt-Onson.
I didn't have a question, but for the viewers at home, there was an interesting fact in there that I'm hoping that you can share with all of them, and it was around the large change in ebook downloads that you have had just in the last couple of years, and it was a big jump. Can you share that number with our citizens?
I actually am watching a big jump month after month after month. It's very interesting to me. We have only had ebooks since 2010, so it's 3 years that we're looking at. So 3 years ago, maybe 40 books were downloaded. This month it will be close to 800. So that's in terms of percentages. I'm going to let David calculate that for me because he's the numbers guy and not me, but it is astonishing to me how fast the numbers are growing. We are part of a shared collection that 44 libraries chip in the money to purchase titles. We had maybe 3,000 titles in 2010, and now we're approaching 30,000. So the collection is growing as rapidly as the people who are using it. And this is just the beginning. What I think you're going to see next is downloadable video and downloadable magazines. And those are both coming into libraries right now. I expect that within the next few months, Matt will be here talking to you about those. And so this is where we're going. Instead of actually having physical collections, we have the collection out in the cloud, and we broker the rights for you to download the information, and we help you figure out how to do it. And that part can be almost as challenging as as actually reading it once you get it. So, yeah, but it's a learning curve, and like everything else, I'm not going to date myself and talk about VCRs and programming those, but the first time you do something, it takes a long, long time, to figure everything out, and it doesn't work right, and you can't figure out why it didn't work right, and then when you finally download it, you can't figure out where it went, so you can retrieve it and read it on your device, and by the 10th time, it takes you 5 seconds, and bang, there it is, and it's very, very convenient. My last vacation, I didn't bring a single book. I just had my e-reader. Yeah, I had 2 travel guides on it, too. It was really cool. So that's our future. But we definitely have a future.
Very good. Mr. Sessa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to personally thank Celia for all her work. This is actually your last official meeting with the City Council as our library director. And I can't tell you enough how lucky I am to have worked with you and consider it quite a privilege. I'll never forget the first day I met you. and I'm not going to repeat it. That'll be between us. But unless you don't mind, I remember walking into the library to meet her and have her give me a tour of the library. And Celia is a very, very independent director, and more or less told me that she was going to keep it that way. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I can tell you that as the city manager, it's always been a pleasure working with you. She keeps me informed, probably more so than most directors. As a library director, she likes information, so I get a lot of reports. And I think, Council, you've seen that as well, where you'll get more reports than other directors. But this is not yet goodbye. But I know our recent email that you and I were discussing your departure. It's I can't believe that it's happening. It's really here. And it's getting closer. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to, again, thank you, Celia, and the people of Berkeley. They really will never really know everything that you've done for them. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's been 30 years. I would not have stayed 30 years if I did not find Berkeley to be a great place to work and a great place to be. I've had other opportunities. Some of them I've considered fairly carefully, but in the end, my heart is here and my career has been here. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cadeckel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Celia, your reports are beyond amazing. And I don't know if you have a copyright on it, or is Mr. Church going to be able to use the same format?
Well, it's all on the computer. If he wants to use it, he can. I actually think, I think Matt will take the library in a new direction, and I think it's a good thing. And I couldn't be more pleased with my successor. And that makes it easier to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Celia. And we will come back at another time
Yes, we will, Your Honor.
to more formally acknowledge the depth and breadth of your contribution to this city. Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 2?
Swearing in, matter of city clerk administering oath of office to Public Safety Sergeant Justin Frost.
Is there a motion to approve the swearing in?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Blanchard.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Cadeckel.
Chief?
And now we go to the swearing in.
Okay.
Justin Frost has been a member of the Berkeley Public Safety Department since 2002. While here, besides being a police officer and firefighter, he's been a member of the hazmat team for Oakland County, search and rescue squad, and an EMS coordinator for our department. He's very versatile. Last fall, in October, he was activated and deployed overseas in the United States Navy for the second time. While he was there in deployment, it wasn't a pleasure cruise out on the ocean in the Navy. He was, as they say, boots on the ground in Afghanistan, where he was in charge of an 8-member military counterinsurgency team. Now, last week, he returned, and he's back in our employ. Last October, 3 days before his deployment in the military, he was promoted informally to the rank of sergeant, following a competitive examination, in which he scored very well. At that time, we didn't have the opportunity to formally promote him. Now that he is back, we are doing that. We are proud of both his service here in Berkeley for 11 years. We're proud of his military deployment twice, where he voluntarily put himself in harm's way for the national good. So I'm very proud now to formalize this promotion.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Justin Frost,
I, Justin Frost,
have been duly appointed as Public Safety Sergeant
have been duly appointed as Public Safety Sergeant
for the City of Berkeley,
for the City of Berkeley.
do hereby solemnly swear
Do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Charter of the City of Berkeley,
the Charter City of Berkeley,
and that I will perform the duties
and I will perform the duties
of my office to the best of my ability.
of my office to the best of my ability. First off, I'd like to say thank you to the Chief Eshman for this appointment to Sergeant. I'd like to thank the City Council and the City Manager for your endorsement for this position. It's been a great honor for me to serve the City of Berkeley for these years, and I look forward to continuing my service as Sergeant. I've been very humbled by the amount of support I've received through my deployments. I know with us being a smaller department, it's been very taxing for management and my fellow officers. While I'm gone, they're having to fill my gap and take care of my positions, and I can't thank them enough for all of the support I've received from everyone, and it's meant a lot. Chief Eshman's been extremely supportive throughout all my deployments. I'd like to personally thank City Manager also for her contribution to me and my family. Appreciate your support for extra time, some time I was able to have off with my family. It meant a lot, so thank you.
Thank you.
My wife and 4 children are here with me today, and I'd like to recognize my wife Kelly and my 4 children Ethan, Connor, Samantha, and Charlotte. Stand up.
You want to come up here so they can see you? Come on. Come on, go up, please.
They've endured my career in 2
Oh my
deployments and stood beside me no matter what through all their pains and everything through my problems. So I appreciate everything they've always gone through with me. So they're the backbone of the family. And also, I'd like to, in honor of the City of Berkeley, to the City Council, City Manager, Chief, and especially to the Public Safety Department, my fellow officers, I have a flag I'd like to present to them. Chief. And a certificate. So that all shall be known, this flag was flown in the face of the enemy at Task Group Trident headquarters in Parawan, Afghanistan on February 5th, 2013. Illuminated in the dark of the night by the justice that bears the witness, the sacrifice and courage of those men and women fighting terrorist forces threatening the freedom of the United States of America and around the world.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Frost, and thank you as well to all your colleagues who are here in support. The Council and administration and the people of Berkeley are enormously proud of your contribution.
Thank you, sir.
Your contribution to the nation overseas is an incalculable honor for us, and we thank you.
Thank you.
They can stay.
I'm sure they're dying to sit through the rest of it.
And now, Ms. Prince, if you would read item number 3 on tonight's agenda, please.
Motion number M4613, matter of awarding the Coolidge Catalpa Alley parking lot improvements to Quality Construction of Pontiac, Michigan in the amount of $149,398.80.
Is there a motion to approve M4313?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilmember Baker. Support. Support by Councilmember Blanchard. Ms. DeSessa.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and to members of the audience out there as well. You know, or at least you're familiar, we did discuss this item during our budget process not too long ago. It feels like just yesterday for me. But this item was discussed, and we have been studying this matter for a long time. I'm very pleased to finally bring this item for your consideration. But for the audience members out there, I've asked our Director of Public Works, Mr. Derek Schuler, to give us a summary, not just of this project, but also the impact, more or less, of what this new parking lot will have to our community as well. I'm very excited about this. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Director of Public Works, Mr. Schuler.
Thank you very much, and good evening. Before you tonight is the award of the contract for this new parking lot, which will create approximately 30 spaces. Back a few years ago, the DDA did produce a report that identified this need for additional parking specifically in this area, and we're fortunate enough to be able to bring this project to fruition. Again, this will entail both an alley reconstruction as well as creating approximately 30 parking spaces. So the alley at Coolidge and Catalpa, directly behind what used to be the J.J. Fats, now Papa's Pizza, is the area that we're talking about. And the grassy area there adjacent to the alley will be converted into parking spaces. It will all be new concrete for this particular project. We did go out to bid for this, working with our engineers, and we did receive 5 bids for the project, which is I was pleased to see that. And we did, the low bid for the project was Quality Construction, and if that name rings a bell, they were actually the contractor for the Griffith and Robina parking lot that was done approximately 2 years ago. And that project went very well, so we're pleased to have them back on board again. The low bid for the projects was $149,398.80. We're asking for that award tonight, as well as engineering fees in the amount of $12,700, and then a contingency of $6,000 for construction contingencies. Hopefully we won't have to use that, but it's always a good idea to at least set those aside. So we're asking for approval for those 3 items tonight. Amy Vanson is here as well, our city planner. She's been working hard on this as well. It's been a team effort, and we're ready to get going. The construction schedule is going to be tight. We're looking to have the pre-con ASAP and start this work as soon as possible. The completion date is going to vary with the weather. If the weather is right, it will be done before the winter season, but if we do get some bad weather, it could get delayed. But we're trying to be aggressive with this and get it in as soon as possible. I'm happy to answer any questions on the issue.
Very good. Any questions for Derek? Councilmember Platt-Onson.
Okay, sorry. I have some how these numbers fall in and what we're getting questions.
Sure.
So on the memo from HRC, it talks about Division 1, 2, 3, and 4, and adds up to 188,000 of their recommended work. Plus, on the previous page, it talked about adding in a 10% contingency. The amount we're looking to approve is 169, more or less. Mm-hmm. I didn't major in math, but I feel like there's something some portion of that original bid that we're not getting the work
You're
done
absolutely
on.
correct. You're absolutely correct. There were several divisions for this project. We added what was Division 3, which included getting a price to do some work at Woodward and 12 Mile. The sidewalk that was built there by RCOC crews, again, approximately 2 years ago, there's some sidewalk that was placed there that is not 5 feet wide like we'd like to see. So we went ahead and included the items in this contract to do that work. And we still can do that work. But at this time that I was producing this, we hadn't worked out which account, if that was going to move forward. So that's the reason for the discrepancy. At this point in time, we're moving forward with all the divisions besides the Woodward and 12 Mile sidewalk work, which is the difference in price.
Okay, thanks. I just wasn't sure. I wanted to make sure it wasn't like the fence between that and the neighbors or something that was being left out.
It's just that piece.
Okay, and then I had one quick follow-up. It says that we're looking at a somewhat small contingency amount. Are you concerned? And if we go beyond that, do we have a backup plan on where some of that money could come from?
I'm sure we could work out, a contingency plan if in fact we encountered something. I really don't expect, the fact that we're not getting into significant underground work with this project means that a contingency is, I'm more comfortable with less of a contingency. If we were doing extensive underground work with utilities, there are a lot more unknowns involved, and you just don't know what you're going to find. But I'm comfortable moving forward with this, and obviously if we encounter something significant, I'll be working with the city manager and we'll find a way to solve that.
Okay, thank you.
A kind of rule of thumb is contingencies of 10%.
That is a typical rule of thumb in the construction industry, and that's what HRC had used. And it's not a bad idea. That would give us some flexibility. If there was the right decision to be made in the field, we could, again, with the city manager's approval, move forward with that if it was the right thing to do instead of holding the job up.
Exactly. Makes sense. Any other discussion, questions? Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Derek, thank you so much for your report and for all the work that went into this in the preceding years and months as we got closer to the ability to go out for bid and to process these and to bring this here tonight and give us your informed responses and thoughts on this. Thank you. You've already hinted at my initial line of questioning in terms of timing and things like that, and if we were to proceed with this, I think you mentioned already we'd seek to take an aggressive schedule and move it forward with the opportunity to complete it yet this year. So I shift to the role of the inconvenience around the neighbors and the businesses. Can you talk a little bit about some of the approaches that we take in projects like this, and this one in particular, to minimize or streamline the impact?
Absolutely, and what we're going to do is meet with the contractor first. We don't dictate means and methods, so we'll meet with them first to discuss how they plan to tackle the project and make sure that that makes sense for the businesses in the area. And then I envision either setting up some type of public meeting with those handful of businesses through there, whatever efficient way that we can kind of send the message. It will be, that back alley during construction will be occupied by construction vehicles. Certainly when we're paving the alley, the concrete needs time to set up. So there will be a closure involved of the alley. So we do need to work closely with the residents. But the first step is to let the contractor know, if he's the lucky one that he's been awarded the job, understands his means and methods, and then we'll go ahead and have those meetings with the businesses in the area.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Has this been coordinated with the school district? Is there any impact on their activities at the practice field?
I've coordinated with Larry Gallagher through this entire process at the school district, and I'm not aware of any conflicts from their end. I've worked very closely with them during the design phase because there was a lease involved with the project. So I'm not aware of any issues. I've been keeping them abreast of council meetings, planning commission meetings, each step of the way.
Very good. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you again. Just as a follow-up to that, Mr. Gallagher is part of the DDA board, so he's involved with this project and aware of the details from that perspective as well. So he's not here tonight, but I know in the past he's been involved with the discussions and the work leading up to this. So likewise, the dialogue at the DDA has been nothing but positive and supportive of moving forward with this project, so including the school district representation. Yeah, good.
Very good. On that thought, Ms. Prince, please call the roll on M4613.
Platt Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Kadeco?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. And now, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 4?
Motion number M4713, matter of approving the extension of the existing contract to Cars Outdoor Services of Canton, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $100,000 for the 2013-2014 pavement preventative maintenance program. In addition, authorize $6,000 to Hubble, Roth & Clark, HRC, for related construction engineering services.
Is there a motion to approve M4713?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Stedman,
Support.
support by Councilmember Kadeco. Mr. Sessa.
Council, again, you may recall this as a budget item when we came before you, and we talked a little bit about this. This is something that we do on an annual basis. The director is recommending that we continue this agreement. They're giving us the same price, and more important than that, I suppose, is that they've done a really good job for us, and we're very pleased with their work. I concur with the director's recommendation, and I simply ask the director just to give us a brief summary of this item.
Yes, before you tonight, the 2012-2013 pavement maintenance program was completed in full just this past summer. That was based on an April bid, and I believe we received 3 quotes from 3 contractors at that time. Cars Outdoor Services was the lowest qualified bid for the project. In fact, their unit prices were very competitive, to say the least. So we moved forward with them, and they completed the work from that project. And as we were talking in the office, I think it just makes sense that we look to extend the bid because of a couple things. A, the bids are still current, being it's an April bid. We're able to save on those costs associated with the bidding. But I think even more importantly, I'm going to try to get as much preventative maintenance done again before the winter season, the freeze-thaw cycles, so we can seal up some roads even before that period hits again, where we see the greatest amount of road deterioration. So it's kind of a two-pronged thing. I don't recommend extending contracts like this for too many years, but I think a yearly extension on something like this makes good sense. and I would definitely recommend moving forward. And as it's mentioned, there is a cost in there as well for engineering services, for inspection of the job, which was done last time as well. And again, our hope is to, it's weather dependent, but our hope is to get all of this done before the temperatures fall. You're generally looking at around, a lot of these sealants, you need surface temperatures 40 and rising, thereabouts. So, we've got a window here. How long it is, it's hard to say, but we've got a window, and I'm hoping that we'll get as much material down as possible before the winter season, and then follow up in the spring if there's anything left over.
I was looking over the contract, and there was a couple of terms that I think we could profitably hear your explanation of. Spray patch and overband. What do these terms mean?
What the overband is the 3 to 4 inch wide black spider webbing that you'll see on asphalt pavements, and that's a sealing agent that just prevents that water infiltration. These asphalt roads will crack, and if you seal them up within that 1 to 2 year period after they're paved, you've generally got a pretty tight system for several years to come. So that's the overbanding. It's that thicker, wider section. The spray patch is something new that we experimented with this year, and I was very pleased with. We hit a number of roads, including Harvard. We did some alleys. Some of you may have noticed it blends in very well with the existing asphalt. It is difficult to see, but the beauty of the spray patch is it's a stone and asphalt emulsion in one, and it just covers everything. So it seals everything, the pothole itself, the alligator cracking, everything is sealed so you don't get the water underneath that, which will pop it and cause potholes. So it's a quick and dirty Band-Aid, but it's a Band-Aid that will seal it up tight and prevent us from some cold patch trips the following year, because it actually stays in the hole. And it could be sprayed in wet conditions as well. So it's something relatively new. I've worked with it before, but I think it's relatively new to Berkley, but we've been very proud of it. The company putting it down is right out of Madison Heights, and I work with them very closely with the first phase, and I was very impressed. And I hope we can get a lot more of it down.
Very good. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you again. I love the precision and the passion with which you bring this kind of terminology to us. It just rolls off the tongue. That's really really cool to have such fluid vocabulary around with such precise accuracy. Thank you for that. A couple of process questions having to do with, if we were to proceed with this, how and in what ways would we prioritize where this effort would focus in the coming months? And do you have any estimate or guesstimate in terms of the balance between major streets and the local streets where we'd allocate this? So prioritization and focus.
Right. One of the main priorities is actually 12 Mile, an RCOC road between Woodward and Coolidge that was overlaid here, again, about 2 years ago when I first started. And there are reflective cracks coming through there. I mean, you can see them even driving. So we want to seal that up. And obviously, our hope would be that RCOC would be taking that initiative on something like this. But we're going to take the initiative because we want to maintain that asset. We'll look to third party if we can, but I'd like to seal that one up. That's one of my major priorities. And then to continue with the spray patch, I have a fairly lengthy list of local streets that we just couldn't hit the first time because we had exceeded our budget that I want to hit. And again, what I'm using is Where to Go is some of the road rating maps that were done by our engineers recently. And I'm looking at that map, looking at the worst rated streets, and that's where I'm spending some time with the spray patch material to try to hold together those pavements until we're able to do something more substantial. So I don't have an exact breakdown for you. We will be meeting with the engineers. I've got some sticky notes up on my map in the office of some of the major ones that we want to hit. 12 Mile will be a major road, and that will be a primary focus. But lots of local streets with the spray patch is also priority in my mind.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. As I think about some of the work that we're doing with the Michigan Municipal League and looking at the transportation assets we have across the state, this is the kind of work that is so important. To take these assets and put that bit of, like you said, preventive maintenance into it now, so that it prevents 10 times fold in expense down the road if these were to, pun intended, if these were to deteriorate to that. So I think this is a good use of our focus and efforts here to maintain these assets, especially the roads
the roads more traveled, and then to also look at those areas where we really needed a lot of help. I'm glad to hear the local streets are part of the equation. Certainly, we hear from residents. We ride our bikes and do things on that as well. And there's some acute pain points out there that definitely need attention. So, so thanks.
You're welcome.
Very good. There are likely larger expenditures needed, however, to deal with the roads in the city.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something we need to keep in mind.
More
here,
to come on that.
That's right. This is not a fix for all our roads, and we have many roads that are, as Councilmember Baker was indicating, in need of some resurfacing and reworking.
Repair.
But it appears that's a project for another day.
Absolutely.
This is to deal with
Keeping the good roads good
Keeping
is
the-
really the primary focus of this, but
Okay.
the spray patch is going a little bit above and beyond that, but
Right.
that's really needs to be the focus. The good roads good.
Okay, very good. And we will come back to the other issue
Absolutely.
later on. When you use the acronym RCOC, you're talking about the Road Commission of Oakland County,
That's correct.
just for the sake of the folks at home.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any other questions, discussion on this topic? If not, then Ms. Prince, will you please call the roll on M 4713?
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Kadeco?
Yes.
Platt Onson?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. And now, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 5?
Resolution number R 3513, matter of approving amendments to the 2013-2014 budget.
Is it a motion to approve R 3513?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Stedman with support by Councilmember Kadeco. Mr. Sessa.
Council, as you know, we do our best to make sure that we keep our budget in balance and that all the expenditures are accounted for. And as required under Public Act 2 of 1968, we conduct the proper amendments as well. And to give us a brief explanation of exactly what those amendments are, I've asked our Director of Finance, Mr. David Sabuda, to give us a quick report. Mr. Sabuda?
Thank you, Mrs. DeSessa. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Tonight you have 3 budget amendments, 2 that affect the general fund, 1 that affects the construction fund. We'll work backwards. The third one is we're funding the engineering piece of the parking lot project that was just discussed a little earlier this evening. We're moving $10,300 from the actual construction line item to the engineering line item. Pretty straightforward, no increase in appropriation. Item B, the audit. We are funding the contract. Okay, $6,000. When I tallied up, the auditors are coming in this October. When I tallied up what I had appropriated for what I recommended for appropriation, I fell short $6,000 as compared to the contract. So we need to increase the appropriation by $6,000. And item A, $1,800 for computer software. We are instituting some new software in the clerk's department, and we are converting basically hard data into the software. And there's an additional fee to allow us to do that, so that's another $1,800. So in total, you have new spending or new appropriation of $7,800. I'll be happy to entertain any questions that you may have.
Any questions or discussion of the budget amendments? All seems straightforward and clear.
Thank you.
That being the case, Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll on R 3513?
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Kadeco?
Yes.
Platt Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. Now, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 6 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M 4913, matter of approving the contract with Waterway for testing of the Public Safety Department fire hose at 22 cents per foot for a total of $1,642.
Is it a motion to approve M 4913?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Blanchard, support by Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack. Mr. Sessa.
Council, this is a very important contract. Please know that it was reviewed by our city attorney and has given it his blessing, so to speak. But to give us some detail as to exactly the purpose of this contract, I've asked our Director of Public Safety, Chief Eschman, to go over this contract with us. Now, please know that this proposal that we've reviewed or that we're considering this evening is from Waterway, and it is an Oakland County bid price. So in other words, we use Oakland County's bidding process for this item, okay? So with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Eschman. Thank you, Chief.
Periodically, we need to test the strength, durability, workability of the fire equipment. Hoses are just one of those things. So we put out 3 bids to do specialized pressure testing. And the prices range from 22 cents a foot to 29 cents a foot. We have selected Waterway, a good reputation. They do some other departments in this area to do that testing. They were the least expensive bid, having a good reputation. We selected them. The funds are available for this in equipment maintenance. Mr. Sabuda has been consulted on this. 101-310-933 is the account number. And with the funds available, we're recommending Waterway. A lot of the fire service work administratively is being turned over to Sergeant Corey Miller. Many of you know. He did the heavy lifting on this one. He did all of the work. So if there are any questions specific to that fire issue, Sergeant Miller can answer them.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions for Sergeant Miller? Discussion? Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to make some comments. As having done hose testing in the past, stretched all that hose across the parking lot and tested it with our fire engine and then drained it out and put it back on a truck, I think 22 cents a foot is a pretty good price because it took us a long time. And hose testing is extremely important. I have, on a fire, not a run, but a practice years ago, we had a hose hooked to the side of the truck and it blew right off the truck, blew right out of the coupling. And that can be dangerous as that comes whipping out of there. So for the preservation of life safety of our firefighters and anybody in the area and to make sure that we can put water where we want to put it, this is extremely important.
Exactly.
And I thank Corey for all the hard work that he's done arranging this, so thank you.
Very good. Anything additional? Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you both for this, and for all the work that you did to bring this together. I really appreciate that. The thoroughness of the report and the information that you provided to us was exceptional. This is something I didn't know a whole lot about, other than just the general principled awareness of the importance of this, and to see the thoroughness at which this is prepared, the care with which we approach these things, I think is great. It's good to know that there are standards out there. We're actually being tested. I learned the NFPA 2008 edition standard that we're going to be. I thought that's awesome that we have that kind of stuff. And in here, it addresses some of the questions that I'll ask here, but just to kind of, for those at home that haven't had the pleasure of looking through this, the amount of time that this takes from begin to finish and that kind of stuff. Can you just shed a little bit of light on how long we anticipate this taking?
If we were to test the hose ourselves, we would have to either rent a hose tester or run off the side of our truck. One of the things you have to do is run it to a certain pressure for a certain duration of time to make sure that the hose doesn't fail. By doing that, you're putting undue stress on the fire apparatus. Mm-hmm. Running a hose tester, you can only test so many lengths of hose at a time. Would be very time consuming, as Councilmember Blanchard stated. You have to take all the hose off the truck, mark it, inventory it, test it, put it all back on the truck, and trying to do that with limited manpower and not creating overtime would be quite a task. By doing this, a company like this, they come in with a large apparatus. They can hook multiple lengths of hose at the same time, test it. They're anticipating that it would take about 2.5 to 3 hours per fire truck. We've estimated about 7,600 feet of hose, so they figure about half a day they'd be able to do both of our trucks. We would never be able to do one truck in one day. It would be quite a feat. So.
Right. Thank you for that additional clarity, Sergeant. I think it's excellent to know not only are we in good hands, but to my colleague's point, it's a fast and efficient process by the experts that know how to test that, so we can leave the best equipment in your expert hands as well. So thank you.
How often are they required to be tested, Corey?
Annually. It's required annually to be done.
Okay, very good. It's very safe, an important thing for us to do. So if there are no further discussion.
One quick comment. I'd just like to caution everybody that after this testing, Corey might be coming back asking for money for new hose, because some of it might not pass. So,
but we hope they pass.
Yes, I will caution you that one of the inherent problems you will have with hose failing is the replacement cost. Hopefully we don't anticipate to have a lot of hose fail as we use it in fire operations right now. But that being said, that is a downside to testing.
But it's the cost of doing business. We must have hoses that work.
Correct.
Right.
Definitely.
So on that note, Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll on M4913?
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Kadeco?
Yes.
Flyd Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. And now, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 7?
Motion number M5013, matter of approving the purchase of one new animal control truck from Signature Ford for the budgeted amount of $18,229.
Is there a motion to approve M5013?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Blanchard.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Cadecle. Mr. Sessa.
Council, as the agenda item states, this item too was budgeted, and we did discuss it during our budget process. I'm pleased to tell you that we used the Macomb County bid process for the acquisition of this truck. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Eshman so that he can give us a little information about the truck and perhaps a little bit about animal control services as well. Chief Eshman.
Well, as council is aware, we provide animal control services for the city of Royal Oak also. The 2008 Ford F-150 that we currently are using has over 98,000 miles. Those are hard miles. And we discussed this at the budget meetings. So it's time to replace it. And the price is $18,229. That's on it's on a statewide bid. And the dealer that wins that bid all the time is Signature Ford in Owasso, Michigan. So here we are. The warranty is a standard 3-year, 36,000-mile bumper-to-bumper with 100,000 miles and 5 years on the powertrain. The only difference between the truck we're getting and the truck we have been using is that this one does not have an extended cab. Mr. Gurnett, if there are any technical questions, I have our wrench. Was volunteered to come back. Former wrench. He knows 100 times more about mechanics than I do. So if there are any technical questions, Mike would be happy to address them.
Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Only one question. I noticed we're going from a extended cab to a regular cab. Is this going to cause any problem with Gail's operation, or is something she wanted, or why are we doing that?
We did it primarily to save the extra money. The extended cab is about $600 or $700 more. I don't really believe it'll cause Gail any problems. The stuff that she carries in the front can fit on the floor of the front on the other side.
Okay.
Very good. That was an important question. Second, another one is, what happens to the old truck?
We're going to auction it. It goes up to, this is done in conjunction with DPW as well. Derek knows, mid-thumb auction, I believe it's called.
Okay.
All our old patrol cars, all our vehicles, city vehicles get auctioned up, which is a wonderful thing because they won't have a clue what it's like.
Very good. Councilor Big.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thanks, guys, for ensuring that we keep the fleet up to date. As it was mentioned, this was part of the budget process, and I think it's important as we look at these as assets to ensure that they are maintained and so it can provide the quality of service that we look for. It's not really so much a question, but more of a comment as to the bid processes. You know, as was mentioned earlier, many times we leverage a statewide or a regional bidding process for economies of scale and efficiencies and things like that. And something that I thought might be worth noting was the price savings that we gained off the ticket price. If you could just share that with us again. You mentioned the price that we are paying as opposed to the price that we could have been paying.
Well, we're paying, as we did last year, we're paying $25,963. The sticker price on these, excuse me.
Nope.
No, excuse me. I'm on the wrong vehicle.
That's right.
We have other vehicles
We'll
coming
get to
up.
that one.
Sorry. We're paying, that would have been a shock, wouldn't it? I just added $8,000 in the price of the truck. I'm sorry. We're paying $18,229.
Yeah.
The sticker on it is $27,455.
That's a savings of
saving
over
$9,200 on
Yes.
this one.
That's significant, and I
That's
appreciate your
huge.
focus on ensuring not only do we have the right equipment for our folks to do their work, but in a cost-effective way. I think that's, it's almost a third off. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah, thank you.
They say manufacturer's cost is 1/3, 35%. So we're almost getting it at manufacturer cost.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thanks.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll on M5013?
Blanchard.
Yes.
Cadecle.
Yes.
Platt Onson.
Yes.
Stedman.
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 8?
Motion number M5113, matter of approving the purchase of 2 new patrol vehicles from Signature Ford for the budget amount of $51,926.
Is there a motion to approve M5113?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilmember Blanchard.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Stedman. Mr. Sessa.
Council, again, we did go with the Macomb County bid process for the acquisition of these vehicles. As you can see, we had a significant savings. You know, one thing before I turn this over to Chief Eshman, our public safety department, again, a lot of people don't realize this, but our staff works very hard to make sure that we get the vehicle that we need. And so they do work closely with the director and myself to make sure that we can acquire the car that best fits our needs. And sometimes I know some of them may do some custom things to the vehicles that some other cars will not have, but I can tell you that our department works very hard to make sure that these vehicles are the best that they can be with the amount of dollars that we have, so that we can provide good services to our residents. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Eshman. Chief?
Okay. We are replacing 2 of our Scout cars. The 2 we are replacing have 70,000 and 94,000 miles respectively. The first one has some accident issues in the past, which exacerbated its condition. Neither one are suitable for road work any longer. Again, we're going to go with Ford Police Interceptor utility all-wheel drive models. We've had extensive conversations about why we've gone to the UV in front of council and at budget sessions. Unfortunately, the 22 cubic feet that used to exist in the trunks of the Crown Victoria is no longer available. We're down to 15 cubic feet, I believe it is, maximum in the next offering. That simply is not adequate for the police gear, fire gear, and medical gear. So we're going with UVs again. We'd like to have a blend of UVs and sedans, and hopefully in the next year, maybe one of the manufacturers will come out with something a little more suitable for us. But in the meantime, we're going to go with the UVs again. So again, we're with Signature Ford. They won the bid again, as they always do. Again, the warranty on each of these vehicles, 3 years, 36,000 miles bumper to bumper, and 5 years, 100,000 miles on the powertrain. Funds for this are available in account 101-310-985, vehicles in the police and fire operations account. There's extra money budgeted in there. I hate to say extra, that's the wrong word.
Don't say that
Andrew
word,
caught me on
extra.
that one. The balance of the account is for changeover. When you switch from sedans to utility vehicles, the shields and other equipment no longer will fit, so you have to buy new. He can address any questions relative to that. We're going to be replacing 2, as I said. We replaced 2 in the spring. One of the replaced vehicles was bumped to the Detective Bureau, and one of their cars was in turn auctioned off. This time, we're going to be auctioning off 2, including the second vehicle from the spring change. We're going to be auctioning off 2, and 1 will go to code enforcement. So the net will be the same as it has been in the past for vehicles in our department.
Very good. Any questions? Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just would you give us a summary of what our officers think of the new UVs? Now they've had them 4 or 5 months now, 6 months. What's their impression of them, and how are they working out for them?
Well, if you go with the odds of always having 1 or 2 persnickety people in any group.
That'd be you, Mike.
So we minus those 2. The rest, it's been overall, they've accepted the cars. We've had to make a couple of changes as far as the physical layout of the equipment. It's a process you learn as you, some departments, the one the chief came from, the car is delivered and that's the end of it. You don't like it, too bad. We try to work to make it a little bit more like an officer's home, his office. And with that, we've made a couple changes. So the most important thing, though, all the guys have told me is the public accepts them. They really like them, and they ask them a lot of questions. Why did we go to it, and so on. And the guys have been really good about explaining it. I wanted to add, too, with the 2 new cars that you're about to approve, We are taking, one of the Crown Vics has just 30,000 miles on it. That's currently the supervisor's vehicle. Our supervisors have asked for more room, for more equipment. One of our officers, as you're aware of, is a SWAT officer with the Oakland County Task Force for SWAT, which involves his SWAT rifle being part of the equipment in the truck. He needs more equipment. I know that the supervisors carry extra ammunition. They carry other things that we need at a scene. So we're taking the 30,000-mile car, and all I'm doing is changing one number on it, and that's going to become the new 4.6. So we'll get another 2 years of use out of a Crown Vic that normally, you know, we would have probably auctioned off or sold and took a loss for. So we're actually getting 3 for the price of 2. If that makes any sense.
Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to reiterate something that you mentioned, Mike, because I've had a few residents also ask me about, you know, why are we going to these things, you know, and once they understand that, well, you know, the Crown Vics are no longer there and we need the trunk space and the changes put into place, they seem to understand relatively quickly. So I'm glad to hear that the officers are explaining if anybody ever says anything or asks them any questions as well. That certainly helps. And the other thing is, as you just mentioned, Chief, you know, we're coming in under budget on these two as well. Under budget, not that we have extra budget, but under budget right now. So we have enough to make those changes. And I think that's significant. We're not, it's out of necessity, one, because there aren't the Crown Vics as well, but it's also still financially efficient for us to get these vehicles as well. And I think that's important for the residents to understand. So thank you.
Well, I could just add that we've put a lot of seat time into research. Myself, Sergeant Hatfield, before he was a sergeant, Ron Gabriel, we've gone out to the Milford Proving Grounds, tested the vehicles from General Motors. We've gone to the Ford Proving Grounds in Dearborn and tested these. I've got, between the 3 of us, we've got 12 hours of driving test time as far as dimensional. I was the one climbing in the back of the car trying to find room for it. They were the ones out running around on the track. It's not easy to accept change. It's not easy for a town that's used to seeing the same cars essentially since 2002 is when we got our first Crown Vic. I'd like to point out what I've long-windedly here. Ford did not raise the price. These are 2014s. The other 2 are 13s. The price is exactly the same. So Ford's being good to us again. Royal Oak just took delivery of 3 of them because their officers don't like the little cars. So, and in fact, Huntington Woods just ordered 2 of them too. So we were kind of like on the cutting edge as usual. And if you watch CNN today, the horrific events in Washington, half the vehicles there were utility vehicles, the police cars. So.
Very good. If there isn't any more to say on this topic, I'd just like to, over the period of the last 6 or 8 years on this council, I have noted Mike Garnett's great contribution to keeping our cars and equipment working very well. Mike, you've done a fantastic job and saved a lot of money for the community.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate that.
And on that note, Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll on M5113?
Kadeco?
Yes.
Clyde Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. And now, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 9?
Work session, matter of discussing proposed part-time fire marshal's code enforcement position.
Is there a motion to go into a work session?
Motion
Move to go into work session.
Motion by Councilmember Stedman with support by Councilmember Kadeco. Ms. DeSessa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, this item is something that has been discussed for a long time. And I know, again, we discussed it during the budget season. At that time, we recommended to the City Council to give us an opportunity to see what impact or what effect it would have if we would just do it as a seasonal position. And as you can read in the report that was given to us by our city planner, Ms. Vanson, we did not receive a lot of individuals that wanted to work on a seasonal basis. So we decided to go back to the drawing board, and I met with our public safety department and with our city planner to sit down and take a look at this item. The other important thing that I would like the public to understand on this item is that, and I'm going to go back a couple months even further, even before the budget season, was during the millage question. One of the key items that our residents asked us to take a look at was on code enforcement. That was another question. I know the city council gets many calls also regarding code enforcement. So, council, I've not been sitting on this item. I just want to make sure that when I come before you, that this is something that we've studied, and that our recommendation is something that the city council could potentially consider. So, having said all that, what we are recommending to you is instead of a seasonal employee, we are recommending a part-time employee. And together, working with our city planner and our public safety department, as we were looking at this process, the type of individual that usually does code enforcement is an individual who has experience working in law enforcement, because they go out there and they deal with some sensitive issues, and they also sometimes have to deal with some sensitive issues. So the experience of a law enforcement officer, if you're fortunate to get an individual with that background, is something that we consider. So what we did, we learned that one of our officers was looking at retiring. And so we worked together with him and with the city planner and our public safety department to see exactly how this would work. Now, it also happens that the individual that's going to be retiring is also our fire marshal. And obviously that's a very important position. And but here again, if the city council considers this seasonal, or this part-time position, I should say, would also become our fire marshal for a while, and he would do fire marshal activities as well as code enforcement. However, in conjunction with that, or simultaneously, I should say, our public safety director will also be training another officer, and I'll let him elaborate a little bit further on that, so that we can have a fire marshal that's also in the public safety department. So they will kind of act as backup for each other. And as far as code enforcement, I know that the city planner has mentioned to me that our current part-time code enforcement officer is also addressed this issue, and he's very, very glad that we are considering a part-time person, because he then can also work with another individual who understands the process and could potentially become his backup should he no longer want to work with the city of Berkeley, or cannot work for whatever reason. So after all is said and done, we do believe that the recommendation before you to consider, number one, that this position be a part-time instead of a seasonal position, is one that we strongly recommend. And that will permit us to utilize one of our officers that is retiring at this time. And then this individual will be able to act as backup for not just code enforcement, but also for fire marshal duties as well. So those are two key things that I believe will help. So with that, I think I'll ask our city planner, Ms. Vanson. I think I probably gave her entire report. And have her perhaps elaborate or touch base on some items that I did not discuss, and then ask Chief Eshman to sum up any recommendation that he may have, or any concern, and then obviously we'll open it up to the City Council to address any questions that you may have. So with that, Ms. Vanson, I gave you a report.
She did. She did my report.
Yes, I did.
I will sum up for folks. You all have my report, but for folks watching, fire marshal duty is really important. When I first started with the city in '96, we had a fire marshal, but he worked nights, which is not really helpful if you need to inspect businesses that are open during the day. And so when Sergeant Kelly became the fire marshal, this thus entered a relationship. And so he goes out on all the business license inspections with our building official. He goes out on all the multiple family, residential, rental inspections, any of the multiple family. landlord inspections. And so this is very helpful. He reviews plans that are going to come before the Planning Commission, and then he also reviews them once it gets to the construction point and make sure that things are being followed. And right now we're in the midst of reviewing one that went before the Planning Commission and is now getting ready for permits. And so we're looking at all of the things as far as fire code and building code and zoning code. And so we work very well together. He's a state certified fire inspector, and this is something we would certainly want to continue if Sergeant Kelly, for whatever reason, is going to, if we didn't have him, we would certainly want to make sure we had another state certified fire inspector to accompany the building official on these inspections. And at this point, we have Sergeant Kelly, and we would really want to continue that. And as noted with the resolution that was just read, the building department's had a lot of changes recently. So if we can keep somebody that knows the city and knows how things work, then we think that that is a great benefit. He, as far as the code enforcement, we've had lots of discussions about this. And our current code enforcement officer is a retired Troy police officer. He was also an MP. So we find that there is benefit in having that police, public safety background and how to handle situations, how to handle yourself in situations that can, as Ms. DeSessa say, get sensitive. And so it would be good to have a seasoned officer to assist Officer McWilliams and be there, since his hours have been cut, are down to 28 hours, to have another officer that's available in the summertime when things are growing and things are not maybe being kept up the way they should be. In the wintertime is when we typically do most of our rental inspections, so there would be there would be more code enforcement the way we see it in the spring and summer, and then there would be more inspections in the winter time. And again, he would be available should Officer McWilliams get sick. We've always joked that there's no way to have anybody get sick because nobody has any backup. And vacations, things like that, there would be some duplicity, I don't know if that's the right word, but there would be a backup plan for our code enforcement, and we would obviously want to keep the level of service with the fire inspections.
Very good. Are there any questions for Ms. Svensson? Mr. Sessa.
Mr. Mayor, just so before the questions arise, if you don't mind, Chief Eshman, could you just step up just for a little bit, sir? And I know probably one of the biggest questions, besides how much is this going to cost, that the council has, is exactly, will this have an impact on our public safety department, and what steps are you taking to help us alleviate this issue?
All right. Basically, this will be a win-win for planning and for public safety. I've been asking for a long time what I can do about my detective bureau being understaffed. You've heard me talk about I'm half a detective short. We can't take it from patrol. Well, as it is, Sergeant Kelly spends about half of his time on fire-related duties and the other half of his time as the youth bureau officer. Very important function. We have selected Sergeant Andrew Hatfield to replace him in the youth bureau function. So that will be taken care of. Sergeant Kelly and Sergeant Hatfield are working together now. We moved Andrew over to the day shift so that he could coordinate with Sergeant Kelly to sort of pass the torch on the youth bureau work. On the fire side of it, which is again half of Sergeant Kelly's time, about 35% of his time is spent strictly on this type of code work, strictly on the stuff that Amy described. The other 15% of his overall time is spent on other fire duties, cause and determination of fires that have occurred, that sort of thing. That portion will be passed along to Sergeant Miller in the event of fires. Certain administrative duties will also be handled by Sergeant Miller. So I will virtually be gaining half of a detective here. We have Lieutenant Crum here, who runs the detective bureau, standing in the hallway, and he's got how many cases now, Mike? 85 open himself. It's very busy up there. This will help tremendously. And because now Sergeant Hatfield, who did spend 8 months in the detective bureau 2 years ago, knows that job thoroughly. He will be able to step right in and assist the DB with extra cases. So it's a win for both of us. Initially, cost-wise in the department, by backfilling with a new officer, we'll be saving considerable money. As time goes by, of course, and step increases occur for that person, that will shrink, that advantage. But initially, it'll be about, say, $32,000. However, that includes the rank that Sergeant Kelly has, and we were one sergeant heavy, if everybody remembers, and you budgeted, Mr. Sabuda budgeted for that. That goes away. We will no longer be one sergeant heavy in the department. We're not going to promote anybody in the absence of Sergeant Kelly. So that's about $9,000 coming out of the gate salary-wise. And the salary between a full-paid police officer and a new one can be up to $23,000. Now, healthcare, who knows who's going to have which plan, all that sort of thing. But there's a significant savings that, along with the, I believe you put 7,500 or 7,200 into the code position initially. So we overall should be, we should be okay. I know that this was not transferred from my department to the other one, so I should end up with a surplus at the end, manpower-wise.
Mr. Mayor.
Very good.
Chief Eshman, with regards to the fire marshal duties, who are we going to train? Because I know that's always been a concern of some of our council, to make sure we have some sort of plan of succession. I know Council Member Platt Onson.
There's a lot of schooling necessary for fire marshal duties. It's not just somebody takes on a title and spends a couple of weeks with the former fire marshal. It's not that easy. There's a lot of class work to do. Sergeant Miller's initially the one that we're looking at to take over those duties.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, City Council, I know you're anxious to ask some questions, but let me just add, or end, I should say, by saying that if you recall, in our current budget for the seasonal code enforcement officer, the City Council approved our request to budget $7,595, as Chief Eshman had mentioned. Together, now if we consider what we're recommending to the City Council, the total cost for this new part-time position, because what we're doing here is we're going from a seasonal position to a part-time position, and please notice that I am calling it a part-time position, not a contractual position. It's a part-time position. So the council would be creating this new position if you concur. We're considering, and I'll go into some detail. For wages, we're looking at about $21,475. We're also going to incur some costs for Social Security at $1,643, and then workers' comp at about $145. We're looking at a total cost for this position of about $23,263. So the increase in our budget this year, if the City Council considers this item favorably, it's about $15,668 overall for the City Council to consider. Now, there are so many ways that we're going to maneuver this, and we're hoping that that after all is said and done, and I know our finance director has been working very carefully with us on this item, he chose not to remove or transfer any funds from the Public Safety Department, because there are so many things that are happening in that department. There are so many changes that are occurring right now. Instead, the finance director's recommendation was to simply utilize the funds from the general fund. And as we go through the year, and we will be monitoring this, and believe me, I know our finance director, he will be watching this very carefully. We will make sure that if indeed there's any adjustments or any savings or any overruns or whatever, they will come before the City Council for your consideration and approval. But for now, just to be on the safe side, we're recommending that these dollars come from our fund balance, which is where the funds will come from. We believe that we have the funds to incur this, and we strongly recommend the City Council consider this recommendation. Again, I'm very pleased to tell you that I've worked with our city planner, our public safety director, and also with our finance director here as well on this item. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it over to you, and then we'll be happy to address any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Platt Onson.
Thank you. I have a lot of questions. One was going to be succession planning, so thank you for that. I guess to back up, and Ms. Vanson and Chief heard quite a bit around this council during budget sessions saying the words code enforcement nearly 100,000 times. I just, that was definitely a point that we were really focused on moving forward. We knew that that was a place that the budget had been cut over the years, and it was a big concern of this council to add more code enforcement time. We were initially concerned, I believe, that the seasonal position wasn't even going to be enough. We were happy to be adding something, and I think as a council, we were hoping that it would go beyond a seasonal position. So I'm definitely happy to be looking at this as a year-round position. I guess my question is, or my beginner question, I guess, is around division of duties. So if Sergeant Kelly right now is spending about, so if he's back to half-time, and 30 to 35% of that is going to be fire marshal duties, we're really only looking at about 15% of his time at most to be available for code enforcement duties. Do you think that's an accurate division of labor or not necessarily?
I think so much of it depends on the inspections that are coming up, and we are going into a time where things aren't going to be growing. Code enforcement generally does slow down because you don't have all of the grass and weed complaints because it simply stops growing. So there is time to do other things, which is a good thing because at this point he's never done code enforcement. There is going to be a learning curve with that. The inspections typically have been done in the mornings, and then in the afternoons he would have time to do code enforcement. Jim McWilliams would be able to train him. I've already advised him that since Jim works Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then half a day Thursday, he would be required to work on Fridays, or they need to work something out so that we have full coverage for that time. There's also been some discussions about a Saturday possibly where not so much code enforcement, or as far as going up and talking to people, but simply making a list of who's doing work, who's putting a roof on without a permit, that sort of thing. So those are things that once we get into this actual specifics of the job, then we would work out how that's going to all work out. But we think that we will be able to do enough code enforcement, especially now that we're coming into a slow time, and work on the inspections at the same time.
Okay, yeah, my concern was really around, are we getting enough code enforcement for what we were hoping to get moving forward?
Well, I'd like to address that, if I may. Right now, as I said, 30 to 35% of his time is on code enforcement, but that's hit and miss. It would be much more efficiently done across the street. Now he is detoured, distracted because of a problem with a juvenile, because of an arrest, because of a school issue. So he's trying to set up appointments to meet people, and maybe you can make them, maybe you can't, that sort of thing. Whereas if he's working in code enforcement, his time would not be so distracted. That will help in that efficiency. Maybe it'll come down to 25%.
And I have a transitional follow-up question. I don't know if you want to give
Go
somebody
ahead.
else a chance or.
Go ahead.
So it seems like across the board, we're hearing about some retirements. We're in some transitional periods. It's good to see that we have a plan and that we can continue some of the knowledge base we have while ramping up new people. Is there a, I guess, long-term, would this position, this part-time code enforcement and fire marshal position exist? Is that a skill set across the board that we would be able to continue to fill once Pete Kelly retires for good? What are we looking at in terms of this position long-term?
Well, the way I would look at it is that if it works real well, maybe we'd like to keep it. On the other hand, I'm going to prepare to bring it back to my department. We're going to prepare somebody for it. Some cities contract this out to private companies. This is building code work. It's not firefighting. And they have different structures for how it is handled. Traditional fire departments are more capable of dealing with fire marshal services than we are as a split department. However, so I could see it going either way, and we will prepare to have it come back to the public safety department. Maybe that won't happen. it'll continue the other way, but we'll be prepared either way.
Very good. Councilmember Cadeckel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I cannot think of a finer individual for this position. I've had the pleasure of working with Sergeant Kelly for the last 2-3 years on the Berkley Huntington Woods Youth Assistance. You are not going to find an individual more thorough and more detailed than that gentleman. I mean, to dotting the i's and crossing the t's 6 or 7 times before he finally agrees. And I think with Councilmember Platt-Onson's concern, I think you also have to look at the quality of the person you're getting too. I think he could get more done in less hours because he really does care about the city. He really does know a lot about the city. He's very familiar with things, and he's a no-nonsense guy. And I think that's the kind of person we really need in this position. And I want to thank administration, Ms. Bias DeSessa, Mr. Sabuda, Chief Eshman, and Ms. Vinson for all the work they've done to put this together.
And this has been a long time in the works. And the city manager's been very patient. The finance director keeps trying to swing at a moving target. We keep challenging him with, everything's been changing for months on this. So everybody has gotten together and been very helpful on it. So thank you.
Very good. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thanks you guys for this here, and this has been really helpful for me as well as I try to think about why it is that I'm uncomfortable about this. What I'm not uncomfortable about is that we're having a work session. I continue to celebrate using this tool for us to interact and talk about things that are very important to get the input and insights from the departments, from administration, and from ourselves, I think is great. I'm not uncomfortable in that we're talking about code enforcement. As was mentioned earlier, I think that is a clear and desired additive to the city here that we continue to need to move forward. So I think that's great. I'm not uncomfortable from the notion of seeking to retain the skills and experience. I think this creativity and this cross-departmental partnership here speaks to the caliber in which we seek to work together to solve issues and create new opportunities where others didn't exist. We could have said, oh, this person's retiring, we have a need here, and solve those separately. So I celebrate that as well. I echo the compliments and high regard for Sergeant Kelly, all that he has done and hopefully would continue to do as well. So that certainly is not on my worry list. And as I work through kind of what was I uncomfortable with, I think it kind of gets to the 2 core points that I think were already mentioned. First, the amount of time we would actually spend on code enforcement. Given that this is part-time versus seasonal, I get that there's more volume in there in terms of time to focus on this. And of course, that ebbs and flows of the need. And so we could see how that unfolds over time. So it's a little concerned on the amount of time actually spent supplementing Officer McWilliams, right? Not the two of them go together all the time, but actually division of labor to have more coverage across more days. And you mentioned some of that with the scheduling. And the other concern I had was, again, around organizational design. It certainly appears to be a clever and very valid approach to bring these opportunities together, leverage the experience and skills that we have, the excellent points about the law enforcement expertise coming into this role. And then back to that comment about, do we see this as a long-term staffing opportunity or a short-term rallying around the specifics? I think you've answered the question that we're seeking to. This proposal says, well, here's an opportunity. This is unique and creative given our circumstances and where we're at. And if and when Sergeant Kelly does decide to fully retire off of a part-time basis, then we will see where we go from here. So at least that's helped me kind of work through and think about some of the questions that I had and things that's like, oh, this seems great, but what's still gnawing at me here? And I think it's down to those things that we talked about, the amount of time actually spent on code enforcement and then the design. So again, we've covered that stuff. I think that at least I'm aware now of where I'm at on it. So thanks.
Very good. Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Baker, I think your last point was very important. You agreed all the positives that I certainly agree with as well. Pete's a great guy. Worked for him as in the school for the past 3 years on a pretty significant basis, and I can certainly attest to the work he does, both as the youth officer and as the fire marshal coming to do various inspections and other duties related to that task. It fits, with the way that it's set up, it fits well for us. It seems to work out. We have somebody with that experience, that knowledge that we can transition over, free up a little space for you in the Detective Bureau and some other things. Code enforcement I would assume all of us on council is one of the things that we hear most about from residents. And I don't know that we'll ever have enough code enforcement for what we really want to do, to be perfectly honest with you, given the restrictions of a reality of our budget. But I'm very happy that we're moving forward. I know we talked about the last budget and the seasonal employee, and for whatever reason, it didn't quite work out the way we wanted it to work out. And so going to having somebody in code enforcement, at least if they're part-time right now, that's better than no time, which we've had for the last few years, is certainly a step up. It also gives us time to kind of evaluate it with Sergeant Kelly there, with Pete there right now, and how long he decides he wants to stay on, or however that situation plays out. We'll have a much better understanding at the end of that period, one, how this worked administratively, how the departments worked for both building, for both public safety, and then, of course, the practical matter of the job. How is it working with him doing part there and part there? Are we getting enough extra help with code enforcement? If not, we can certainly talk about then how to make those changes there and increase or change the role, maybe shift something back, and whatever we need to do. I think this has been a long time coming, as you mentioned it is. I'm glad that it's here right now, and we're going to be able to make something happen. I'm very excited to see how it works out, and I can only hope that it's going to certainly improve the delivery of the code enforcement services, having Officer McWilliams have some assistance there to help him out to cover a lot of the issues. So thank you both for your creativity in this, certainly administration as well. I know we have been working on this for quite some time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think this is an excellent idea. We will get more, I think, code enforcement on a 12-month with Pete Kelly doing both than we would in 3 months of someone just doing code enforcement. I think spreading it over the entire year will make things better all the way around, because we don't do as much grass enforcement in the wintertime, but there are other things that need to be done. So I'm supporting this. I think it's the way to go. I think it's the best possible solution.
Good, thank you. I agree with my colleagues. This is a creative solution that is long in coming. While we applaud the effort at bringing it into existence and bringing it before the council, the tone of the discussion at the budget meetings was very clear. Yes. Code enforcement will improve, must improve. And I see this as a great effort in that direction. And I'm thankful to all of you for making this happen. And if there is nothing else, then we can go, any further discussion? One more question.
What's the timeline for this?
Well, I know that we were hoping to begin on October 1, but because of Sergeant Kelly, he has to do a little bit of in transition. We're looking at October 14th to begin this.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well then, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 10 on tonight's agenda?
Yes. Motion number M4813, matter of approving a part-time fire marshal / code enforcement position under the Community Development Department.
Is there a motion to approve M4813?
Move to approve M4813.
Motion has been moved by Councilmember Kadekel.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Blanchard. Any additional discussion, Mr. Sessa?
I'll let Councilmember Stebbins ask.
In a work session.
We're done with the work session. We're on to the next item.
Okay.
We're voting on it basically now.
All right.
Councilmember Platt-Onson.
I just wanted to say that I appreciate the start. I do want to look at it long-term and see how we can continue to add to code enforcement and enhance that service moving forward. This is something for now, so I'm in support of something. I do want us to keep an eye on it. I know we gave Amy a really hard time at the budget work sessions, and you had lots of ideas to be able to track this and watch this and make sure that it's moving forward in a way that you're happy with and that we're happy with and that our residents can be happy with as well. So as long as we're looking forward, I'm happy to support the measure.
Good.
Yep.
Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yep. Likewise, again, I thought that prior conversation was very helpful for me to kind of hear additionally how this will work both short-term and long-term. You know, I think this is absolutely the right move to do short-term. It's all the best qualifications I could hope for in this role. So I'm very pleased in the short-term. As I think to the long-term, I support the position that we're going to monitor and adjust, right? I think as we see how this goes, is this because of Sergeant Kelly's unique qualifications and skills? Is this the right kind of are we breaking new ground in org design that can be spread as a best practice to other communities? There's probably a whole lot of both in that. So we'll see how this works out. I appreciate the strong start here, and I think as going forward, this definitely works for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Sessa.
Mr. Mayor, I too want to add simply that we understand how important this is to the city council, and it was stressed very much so at our budget meetings. And I know to members of our audience, residents, that too was one of their major concerns as well. So we understand. One of the ways that we're going to be able to track this is we are working on some quarterly reports to give to the city council, and they're going to be coming very soon. I'm working with the directors to make sure that we measure things, not just because, but because it's an important thing to take a look at, and it's something that will help us to make some good decisions in the future. So that report is coming shortly to you all. Okay, thank you.
Just a small technical question. In terms of reporting and supervision and those matters, how is that going to work?
It's me.
Very good. There's a clear line, in other words.
Yeah, Pete's moving. He'll be with Jim. He's located a desk
Very
and.
clear. It's okay.
She's the boss.
That's right. Yes, ma'am. Are there any other points to be made on this before we call the roll? Then let's call the roll on M 4513.
Platt Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Kadeko?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. Now we come to the communications portion of tonight's meeting, and Councilmember Stedman is up first.
The only thing that I have tonight is regarding the library and Celia Morris's retirement. On, let's see, when is it?
20.
Yeah, this year. Friday, the 27th, there will be an open house at the library from 1 until 4 o'clock to say goodbye to Celia and honor her service of 30 years. That's September 27th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the library.
Very good.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to remind everyone that the fire open house will be held on September 28th, which is a Saturday, from 10 to 2. It's a great time for everyone to come to the station and see the operation, talk to the officers. I'll be providing fire safety information. I heard today that we confirmed that we're going to have a smokehouse, so we'll be able to take the kids into the little house and show them what to do in case of a fire and how to get out. And that's been very interesting. I worked that the last couple of years. And also the Troy hazmat truck will be on display for people to see what the hazmat people really do, what their equipment looks like and what they do. So it'll be very informative. Again, that's Saturday, the 28th, from 10 to 2. Look forward to seeing everybody there.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. A few quick updates this evening here. First, from the Historical Committee, as you know, there's a new book that was published from the Arcadia Press Images of America series, appropriately titled Berkley. It was a real creative effort to come up with that title, I may say so. And the book reflects that, not only that creativity, but the energy and support of the community. I want to thank everybody that has had an opportunity to pursue that. The way it works in terms of the revenue from the book, the author proceeds go directly to the city to help fund the historical committee. So the authors have signed all that over, and it goes right into the city's ability to support the museum and the committee. So every book purchase actually helps the historical committee, and it's to that end that I'm very pleased to report that as of the first installment from the publisher, they made note that 1,257 copies of the book had been sold just in the first brief window there, which was phenomenal. Many of their books don't even go into a second printing ever, and the Berkley book is already on its third printing, which which is a credit to the city, and it's a credit to the residents that are here and those former residents that have sought the book out. It's phenomenal support. And that resulted in approximately $711.96 coming back to directly benefit the committee in its various efforts. So thank you. Not only do I hope that the book is enjoyed, but it's also being helping the committee to continue its mission. So thank you very much for that. Second quick thing, Michigan Municipal League. The fall convention, they have a fall convention every year. We have a fall every year. It's kind of cool. Is this week's Tuesday through Friday. It rotates from location to location around the state. And in our nearby territory here, it's actually going to be held in Detroit this week. So it's neat to see folks from around the state coming to enjoy what our region has to offer, and in particular in the heart of downtown. Almost 400 folks from around the state are coming with 50 speakers to help share information and talk about best practices across the state, and exchange of information continues to be very helpful. A couple of the things that the league is working on is keeping us abreast of the personal property tax bills. There's a number of those that are coming up for discussion this week in terms of how might that work and the implications to the municipalities. The EVIP revenue sharing formulas and categories is being reviewed. There's a Citizens Research Council, CRC, that there's some consideration to get their input into the formulas and the categories of the EVIP calculation. So I'm glad that conversation is proceeding. Let's see, they're supporting legislation on the transit and complete streets front related to protecting pedestrians and bicyclists. There's an initiative called the Vulnerable Roadway Users, which is an interesting way to frame folks such as pedestrians and bicyclists, but they are vulnerable and they use roadways, so I guess the term holds, vulnerable roadway users. What I'm really happy about with that is among this issue, the transit and complete streets, the EVIP, the property tax issues, that's the league at work for us, right? So these aren't just these conceptual things that someone else has to cope with. Those affect us. Those affect our city. Those affect our residents and our ability to do what we can to help provide the best city possible. So it's the league's great work to help us with that, and I'm glad that we're a member and able to help do those, advance that important agenda. The last thing I'd like to share here is a quote from Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the United Nations, and he said, "Knowledge is power, information is liberating, education is the premise of progress in every society, in every family." And again, that's knowledge is power, information is liberating, education is the premise of progress in every society, in every family. And why I offer that is thinking about September and even into October a little bit. September is a National Preparedness Month. It is crucial that we have that knowledge, to have that information, that education about how to be prepared. In case of emergencies, what would you do? In case of a fire, how would you communicate with your family? How would you, if disasters were to happen, a prolonged power outage, right? What kind of a emergency kit do you have? What kind of plans would you put in store? Those are the kinds of things that you hope you never have to use, and those are the things that if you don't have, could really pose some problems. So as we think about being prepared, work to gain that knowledge, to have that information. I'm really pleased that we're continuing the fire prevention piece. I know October is Fire Prevention Awareness Month, and we're pulling that forward to help, partially because of scheduling, but in the spirit of being prepared and having that knowledge. You can't say enough about being prepared for safety in general and for emergencies in particular. So with that. There are many resources out there to find information. FEMA, FEMA, and the American Red Cross have some really good information on Preparedness Month and some of the things that we can each do to help stay prepared so that hopefully we'll never need to use it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My colleague just spoke about preparedness and the importance of being prepared, but it seems like far too frequently in this country right now, there are a lot of events catastrophes that are happening that no matter how prepared you are, there's still unspeakable damage that's being caused. We just saw another one this morning in Washington at the Naval Yard, and it's just seems that it happens far too often in the United States these days. You go back to Sandy Hook and the Aurora, Colorado incident, and Virginia Tech has their own rash. It's just, I just hope that people in Washington can kind of get past the partisan bickering and realize that this is becoming much more of an issue than just an isolated incident here or there, and that there is something done to try to curb the ease with which people are able to get firearms who then just turn around and use them to just randomly kill people. It's incredibly tragic, and my thoughts and prayers are certainly go out to those in Washington or in the surrounding area that lost loved ones today, those that are injured and looking forward or recovering or enduring long recoveries. Certainly our thoughts and prayers are with all of them. On a completely different note, this Friday is the Chamber of Commerce golf outing. I'm sure that they would still be looking for people, anybody that would like to golf. I'm sure there is still time to sign up. So again, that is coming up this Friday, September 20th. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Plass-Aronson.
Just one thing from me this evening. The September always marks the time of year for the fall tree planting program. I know it's counterintuitive that you should plant a tree right before it loses all its leaves and goes dormant, but this is actually the correct time of year to plant trees. The city of Berkeley has a great tree planting program, and if you haven't taken advantage of it, I know over the last several years, a lot of people have lost trees, and this is a great way to very affordably replace them. If you have ever priced a tree, they're very expensive, but not through the city. So through our power of buying in bulk, if you plant a tree, and there's a variety available from maples to crab apples and an elm as well. If you plant a tree in the easement, so between the sidewalk and the road, the planting itself is free and the tree is only $85. If you want that same tree, but you want to plant it on your private property, it does not include planting in that location, but the cost of the tree is only $95. And to purchase a tree of that size would cost you much more. Residents do have to have placed and paid for their orders by September 27th at the DPW office or at City Hall. So please, I have been doing a lot of running for a fundraiser this month. And I don't always get up really early to do it on the weekends. I've done some noon runs, and the sun is a little rough. I think our neighborhoods have lost some of the grand trees that we've had. So if you have some big gaping holes in your front yards lining your sidewalks, keep all the baby strollers and dog walkers in mind, and maybe put up a little shade. And save yourself on some heating and cooling costs as well. Those trees do wonders for your bills. So again, placed and paid for by September 27th at DPW or City Hall. Thanks.
Very good. Councilmember Cadeckel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem pretty much said what I was going to say about the Washington, D.C. situation, but it was really strange. I was watching the national news today during the event Unraveling, and they're interviewing someone I grew up with, waiting for her husband to see if he was coming to the field where the Washington Nationals play. So it even hit home more, and my thoughts and prayers are with everybody in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. DeSessa.
Mr. Mayor, I have a few items that I'd like to report on. First, I would like to welcome Officer Frost. I know he's gone already, but I would certainly like to welcome him and thank him for all his service. I know that he has spent some time out overseas, and again, I can't thank him enough for his service. So for that, I'd like to recognize Officer Frost and welcome him back. I'm glad that he's safe and sound. It's one thing I asked him to do, make sure he comes back. So thank you, Mr. Frost, and congratulations, and welcome home. Next item, Your Honor, I have a request for our public out there to, if you've got nothing else to do and you'd like to join a committee, please consider 2 committees in particular, because I need some individuals. The first one is the Beautification Committee. Right now, we have about 4 members. But we need more. Obviously, beautification is something that the city is cares very much. And this group, even though it's small, they've done quite a few things already. So I can't thank them enough for their work. I know that right now they are looking at homes and recommending, I believe at the next meeting they'll recommend the best landscape homes in the city of Berkeley. So we'll be hearing from them shortly, and they'll be giving a report to the city council. So that's coming up. And then the next committee that's also very important is the Downtown Development Authority, or the DDA. Now, I have received some applications, but they're usually applications from residents. We would prefer to have individuals that own businesses in the city of Berkeley, and that would be on 12 Mile and Coolidge. I mean, that is the preference. But again, those of you that are interested, please send me your applications. I would love to hear from you for either the Downtown Development Authority and the Beautification Committee. I know the Historical Committee is overflowing, so maybe some of them might want to join the Beautification Committee or the DDA. And then also, I'd like to report to the City Council that, the sustainability report that was put together, I know that Councilmember Platt Onson played a key role on this. It has been finalized. I know I've given you a copy via email and through the FYI report, so you can open it up there. But we do need to have what they call a public hearing in order to finalize that project. And so we're looking at Monday, September 30th, probably at the same time that the City Council meets. The difficult part about this meeting is that it has to be done in cooperation with 5 communities. So the city of Ferndale, Royal Oak, Huntington Woods, and Pleasant Ridge will also need to be in attendance. So I'm looking for a place. So I will come up with some more details as we move on, but please mark September 30th on your calendar, and the public is invited as well to hear this presentation. So I've got to find out a pretty big place. So I'm looking right now. And then also, just to follow up on Councilman Baker, since he is on the Board of Directors of the Michigan Municipal League, I'd like to give a brief report to the City Council and let you all know that I'm working together with staff, with our city planner. We have submitted a letter of interest, and this is for 2 projects that they're working on. One thing that I know you all are aware of, this because something that I've tried for many, many years to get our city is to be development ready. And I believe that we are now. And we had worked earlier with the Suburb Alliance regarding this issue. However, for some reason, that program was phased out. And now the Michigan Municipal League has this program called Redevelopment Ready. And so we are working with them, and we're hoping to be part of that. So we'll see where we go. I'd like to get us started, and I'll be working very closely with our city planners that someday I'll approach City Council and report that the City of Berkeley is a redevelopment-ready community. And basically what that says is that for anyone that wishes to develop in our community, whether it be a small business or a large business, our city planning department, our building permit department is ready and anxious to assist you in coming to the City of Berkeley and developing a new business or a new corporation, whatever you'd like, but we'll be ready. So that's one program that we're working with the Michigan Municipal League. And the other thing I know that Councilman Baker will be pleased to know is that we did submit a letter of interest. And it's just a letter of interest because there's a lot of cities that are looking out there. I know that you've heard the term placemaking. I know Councilman Baker reports a lot about that, and cities wanting to make their cities a place, a welcoming place. They have this program called Place Plans, and we have submitted our letter of intent. It is going to require the City Council to, if we were able to do this, I'll be back with an adjustment, asking the City Council to consider approving about $6,000 in terms of our allocation for this type of project. But we're looking at 2 projects right now. I know the City Council is familiar with them. One is on Robina. Again, if you go to our city planning, or city master plan, you will see the Robina project that we've talked about. So we're asking for them to consider that one. And then the second one is the park or whatever that we're talking about. I don't know the correct. There you go, the linear park. There you go, on Coolidge. And I know that, again, this is part of our master plan. And I ask you all to go back and take a look at that project so you'll see what we're talking about, and we're hoping that we can make this a reality. The linear park is something that we will obviously work very closely with Beaumont Hospital. They're so close to our community that that we'd like to make this linear park not just only for our residents to enjoy, but also many individuals that work and live in our community, but also are part of Beaumont, may be able to enjoy. So we're going to be able to opening up that gateway and making some changes. So again, this is just very, very new. I'm sure lots of Michigan municipalities are applying for this, but I want you to know that we are taking a proactive approach, and hopefully I'll be able to come back to the City Council in the near future and let you know where we stand on this. Okay? So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Sabuda.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good evening. I would like to piggyback on a comment that Mrs. DeSessa made earlier this evening about committees. We lost our chair to the pension board. He has taken on additional work duties, and he can no longer sit as the chair of the pension board, Mr. John Swike, so he had to resign his chair. So we do have an opening on the Berkley Public Safety Pension Board, and of course, we're looking to fill that seat. And that is all I have for this evening. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney.
Mayor and Council, it's nice to be with you this evening. Just very briefly, I appreciated hearing Council's comments regarding code enforcement and the fire marshal position, and I'm going to be looking within the next month to hopefully have an opportunity to meet with Mr. Kelly and the city planner to make sure that the department's priorities and expectations with respect to those few cases where prosecutorial efforts are needed and warranted, that we're on the same page. So I will be trying to have and schedule that meeting and look forward to making sure that the department's goals are carried forward and communicated to the court when necessary.
Very good.
Very good. Thank you very much. And it falls to me to catch the varying things that were missed along the way. And there was nothing missed tonight. So my colleagues covered all the bases very well. We extend a great welcome to Sergeant Frost on his return home safely. We thank his family, as well as himself, for their sacrifice on behalf of our country overseas, and for his continued service here in our city, protecting our own community. The events that occurred in Washington today are, of course, distressing for everybody. And I agree with what has been said already, that we cannot continue week after week having these kind of major atrocities take place. Something needs to be done. It's a pay grade above ours to know what exactly should be done, but certainly something is amiss in a nation where this can occur on such a regular basis. And finally, to reinforce what has been said with regard to the varying commissions, committees, and boards of the city, there are a number of vacancies available, and please go to our website or come to City Hall or the library and express your interest in any particular area. We often hear words of congratulations on the condition of the city generally. And I would like to attribute most of that to the work of the Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission do an amazing job protecting the quality of the housing and the businesses and so on in our city. And I'm especially grateful to them. And they have a vacancy on their committee. And if someone feels inclined to contribute to the city in that way, we'd certainly be willing to entertain their application. And on that note, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn by Councilmember Kadekel, support by Councilmember Stedman. Ms. Prince, please call the roll.
Okay. Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Kadeco?
Yes.
Platt Onson?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
You would lose that vote.
What? Both these guys.